very good afternoon. I hope I am perfectly audible and visible. And if both of those two things are taken care of, please do write in the chat box so that we can begin with a lovely session which is curated specially for all CNLU aspirants. I will be briefing more about what we have in store, but only after I have a confirmation as to my audibility and visibility. So I'm going to take a peep in the chat box and see if both of those two things, that is, logistically, were taken care of. So please be generous enough to be able to let me know so that we can begin without any further ado. So I'd want just a confirmation. Good afternoon. Hi, everybody. Hello. Is the hi for just hi, or can I also have a confirmation as to my audibility and visibility, please? Hi, buddy. If I'm the buddy, then please hi, buddy. All well? Perfect. Okay. So I hope you guys are going to be staying put for the next 90 minutes. We will try and see what our mood is after the 90 minutes. If we are very tired, we will, of course, leave the remaining questions that I have, because I have more than required questions. I have 60 odd questions, but the kind of questions that I have is a motley. It's going to be a mixture of a lot of question variety, specifically which has been prescribed by the CNLU. So you're going to see that we are going to be solving reading comprehensions today. There's going to be grammar. Now, again, in grammar, there aren't really grammar specific questions as much as there are just random sentence corrections. We're going to be doing vocabulary, we're going to be doing idioms, we're going to be doing foreign phrases, and we're going to be doing parajumbles. So the next 90 minutes is going to keep you thoroughly engaged in all of this. We will start with the reading comprehensions, because reading comprehensions are the bread and butter of any examination. Post which we are going to speed up a little, and then we are going to start by solving all of the other questions. Now, I'm sure that this session, like I said earlier, is curated specially for all of you CNLU aspirants. Now, for anybody who does not know what exactly are we doing and why, the Chanakya National Law University has recently launched the 3-year program. The good part is the launch. The bad part is the exam is around the corner. So you don't have a lot of time to prepare, and maybe that's where the surprise element is. So a lot of competition is going to sliver out because people aren't going to be really prepared. But you can be ahead in the game if you know what is being asked, because English categorically does not change, something that I always say in all of my writings. What changes is just the format. It is just the performer which is going to differ, nothing else. So if you have a good bedrock of English, if you have good foundations laid, you should not be the one, who's going to be worried about what the paper is. Just practice a couple within the time frame of the performer and you are good to go. And this I speak for all of the examinations. It's just that some papers become too heavy on the reading front while the others. So if I say, for example, NLSAT is too heavy on the reading front. But then with all of the reading that you have, you also have to know that those 75 questions take care of 3 sections. It is GK, it is CR, and it is English. So the requirement is different. They don't wish to exhaust you or burden you, but then it's generally the ask of the paper that matters. So what you have to understand is the psyche and prepare accordingly. So the more well-versed you are, the better it gets. And with that, let us begin. We are going to start with the reading comprehensions. So now, since the reading comprehensions will require you to read, I'm simply going to step aside. I would want you to read and be as proactive as you can in the chat box also, but then that means you're going to limit the conversation in the chat box to only academic. We will keep having fillers in between wherein we'll talk about other things also, but not right now. We'll keep the first 40 minutes in the game so that we've been able to do most of it. We are going to be beginning with 3 reading comprehension, so that's going to get reading heavy, and then we are going to have single liner statements to ourselves. Keep a bottle of water or a sipper next to you, but do not go anywhere. And the more active you are on the chat box, the better it gets for me, and of course for you as well. Upon discussion, we are going to talk about what the passage is, what the answer is, why an answer and why not. We are going to evaluate all of the other options as well. So if there be any doubt that persists, please write in the chat box so that I can have that taken care of immediately. Do not sit, do not ponder, don't come back 5 questions later, right? Do not be doing any of that. Now, the only thing that I want is while doing the reading comprehension, since you will have to be reading the passage, I will require you to write a next in the chat box when you want me to swap the slide. I will give you your time to be able to read. Once you finish with the reading, I will quickly get on to the questions as well so that you can pick your answer. Don't give your answer in the chat box, just pick it. And then when we start with the discussion of the passage, as and when we get on to the questions, you can keep writing as to whatever you think it is. So the rules are simple. It's not very complicated, but the next 90 minutes are going to be worth it. Trust me, for as long as you are in here and not elsewhere. So if you're doing it on the phone, maybe a good idea is to silent all of the other notifications. If you're doing it on a laptop or on a tablet, that's going to probably be the best thing, because otherwise you'd be cramming your eyes to be able to read. But once all of those things are taken care of, let us begin. Now, like I said, we're going to be beginning with the reading comprehension. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to move aside and I would want you to please just write a done when you finish. Right? Once I have a done, we will begin. If in case the reading is too difficult, that way you can always take a screenshot. I mean, you're like tech geeks, right? You are an engineer without an engineer degree. So in our layman language, I mean, we are also tech savvy. We know how to, have our content to ourselves. After the end of this YT, I will have this PPT uploaded alongside the YT live so that you can have access to it as many number of times as you want. And with that, let us start, everybody. The first passage, please go. Okay, I would now want you to just reserve your answer. I will keep shifting the slides. Once you're done with the reading, once we're done with all of the 5 questions, we'll go back to the passage, discuss the idea, and then move on to the questions. So just reserve your answers. All right then, and with that, let us begin. I'm going to start with, of course, the discussion of the passage. What I need you to do is I need you to match your comprehension with my description and see if that is how you have been able to understand the passage. Now, beginning with Born out of the forces of globalization, India's IT sector is undertaking some globalization of its own. So there seems to be some globalization of its own. In search of a new source of rapid growth, the country's outsourcing giants are aggressively expanding beyond their usual stomping grounds into a developing world, setting up programming centers, chasing new clients, and hiring local talent. So they're expanding leaps and bounds, both technologically and geographically. Though geographic diversification, Indian companies home to regain some momentum after the recession. So they're hoping that they'd be able to do some good after recession. This shift is being driven by a global economy in which the US is no longer the undisputed engine of growth. And fortunately, it's the kind of event wherein US does not seem to be the leading nation. India's IT powers rose to prominence largely on the decision made by the American executives who were quick to capitalize on the cost saving to be gained by outsourcing non-core operations such as system programming, call centers to specialists overseas. What they did was they went on capitalizing on the cost saving front. Revenues in India's sector surged from 4 billion in 98 to 59 billion in the last fiscal year. But with the recession, NASSCOM forecasts that the growth of the Indian export of the IT and other businesses services to the US and Europe will drop at most 7% in the current fiscal year, down from 16% last year in 29. But this year, there is going to be a drop, but it's not going to be as gloomy as what it has previously been. Factors other than the crisis are driving India's IT firm into the emerging world. So other than crisis, there are some positive factors as well. Although the US still accounts for 60% of the export revenue of India's IT sector, the emerging market is growing. Although US eats up a major chunk, but the IT sector seems to be growing. Tapping these more dynamic economies won't be easy, however, but then the author says all good come with their challenges. The goal of the Indian IT firms in the last 30 years has been to woo clients outside India and transfer as much of the actual work as possible back home, where low wages for highly skilled programmers allowed them to sign significant cost saving. Now, what's going to happen is they will have to woo them back. Woo is to be able to attract, to be able to lure them. So that's going to be something that will have to do in case they want to have some significant cost savings. With costs in other emerging economies equally low, Indian firms can't compete on price alone. So obviously they cannot be competing just on the price front. To adapt, Indian companies, which are relatively unknown in these emerging nations, are establishing major local operations around the world in the process of hiring thousands of locals. So what they're doing is they're going indigenous to wherever they seem to be making up their base. Cultural conflicts arise at times while training new recruits. Obviously, I mean, an Indian firm trying to open a branch overseas and then recruit the local people there will always be some sort of cultural conflict. In addition, the IT firms have also to work extra hand to woo businesses from emerging market companies still unaccustomed to the concept of outsourcing. And then, of course, the IT firms also have their own share of challenges to go around with. If successful, the future of India's outsourcing sector could prove to be as bright as its past. India has some really good news in store. So that is what the passage is about. And with that, let's get to the questions. I would now want you to please ping in your answers in the chat box for all of it. And let's see what do we have. On to the very first one. What is the author trying to convey through the phrase? India's IT sector is taking some globalization on its own. Obviously, we understand that it has to be a positive light. And then it has to be of the fact that there's some sort of growth that is happening even in the IT, the IT sector as well. Now, let's see. India has usurped America's position as a leader, usurped this to be able to dethrone NB. Now, we have not. America still holds about 60% of it, but we have been doing good. So this cannot be, this is way too extreme. The Indian IT sector is competing with other emerging nations for American business. They're not doing it for American business. They're doing it for their own indigenous outsourcing. So this is not right, this bit. B can't be an answer. The Indian IT sector is considering outsourcing to developing economies. Now you have to understand that the pronoun used over here is its own, which means whatever it is doing for its own good. So it cannot be to the other developing economies. This can't be an answer, which means the answer will have to be D. Indian IT firms are engaging and expanding their presence internationally. The correct answer is going to be option D. Very well done. We do have D coming in as the answer. For the next one, question number 2. Please punch in your answers, guys. Which of the following factors made the service offered by the Indian IT attractive to the US? So why was it so attractive? Let's see. Indian IT companies had expertise in the not so common core operation. Now, we did not talk about any core operations. All throughout the passage, we are only talking about cost saving and outsourcing. right? So clearly A is not an answer. If A is not an answer, two options stand eliminated. Now, do I have to read B? No. Be smart. Read C, you will have an answer otherwise. The inability of other equally efficient developing countries to comply. Okay, we have not talked about any other cost effective developing economy in the passage. जो चीज पैसेज में बात ही नहीं हुई वो तो आउट ऑफ स्कोप हो गई, तो ये भी नहीं हो सकता, which means आंसर क्या बचा फिर मेरा? The answer becomes none. I hope everyone's clear with that. Let's get to question number 3. Let's see what do we have over here. Which of the following has caused Indian IT firms to change the way they conduct business in the developing countries? So which of the following has made them change? The volume of work being awarded cannot be handled. No, it's not a negative. We want a positive answer. We want to have something, wherein we have been able to make a niche. We have been able to make a mark and for good. So A makes no sense. The demands of these markets are different from those of the traditional operations. Well, yes, that can definitely be an answer because it says which of the following has caused the Indian IT firm to change their way to conduct business. It is because the way you work in India can't be otherwise. इसीलिए थोड़े कल्चरल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स भी हो रहे थे ना, क्योंकि अब हम वहीं के रिक्रूट को कर रहे हैं और उन्हीं के हिसाब से उनको कर रहे हैं. So obviously there's a conflict both ends. That is what it said. So when I say the demands of these markets are different from those, so why did India want to change? Because demand अलग है भाई उनकी. उनकी डिमांड अलग है, उनके हिसाब से काम करेंगे. इंडियन रिक्वायरमेंट के हिसाब से वहां पे थोड़ी काम कर सकते हैं. So this can definitely be an answer for me. Wages demanded by local workers are far higher. Okay, we did not talk about. In fact, the reason why we are taking local recruits is for cost saving. तो ये तो हो नहीं सकता. Stringent laws which are not conducive to outsource. No, we did not talk about any stringent law. India is being very accommodative all throughout the passage. So this can't be an answer. The correct answer is going to be option B over here. It is not going to be C, Aditya and Mohit. I hope you understand why. And let's try on question number 4. Let's see what do we have over here. What do the NASCOM statistics about the Indian IT export indicate? क्या बता रहा है NASCOM? The drops in demand of the IT sector by Europe and US is at most 7%. Well, yes, of course. ये तो specific detail था. Of course, this has been talked about because previous year से कम रहेगा, but रहेगा इस बार भी तो 7% का तो है ही बिल्कुल. This is true. This clearly becomes the answer. Let's see the other ones. Indian IT firms charge exorbitantly. No, there is no exorbitant. मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा. Indian has lost out on other. They've not lost out anywhere. The Indian IT sector should undergo we have to undergo no restructuring. We are doing good because we are also globalizing. So this is not going to be an answer either, which means the correct answer is going to be option A. Very good job there. And let's try the next. Which of the following is going to be the opposite of the meaning of woo? As discussed, the word woo means to be able to attract someone. So if you're trying to attract someone, the other is going to be to run away from someone. That's a kind. Quote means nothing. I mean, sometimes, contextually, when you're quoting somebody, you're seeing somebody. Right? इसीलिए quoting बहुत British dramas में भी आता है. That can't be. Seek attention is to woo. So this can't be. Elude is to run away. That is to, be away from all of this opposite. Presence will also be, presence will not be a meaning. So what can't be a meaning cannot even be an antonym. It cannot even be an opposite. So the correct meaning over here becomes option C. Very well done there. And with that, let's get on to the next passage, everybody. The drill remains the same. I will step aside. You finish with the reading and you let me know. Okay, let's go, guys. The next passage, please start. Lena, I will have all of the sheet, I mean this entire PPT sent attached soon after the class. So right now just keep solving and keep reading and we'll give you all of the questions. Don't worry about it. Okay, we'll try a different approach for this. What we'll do is we'll first discuss the passage, right? And then when we get on to the questions, you can keep doing it simultaneously. So let's start with the passage. Let's see what does this have. Not religion, but religious dogma leads to conflict. Religion should graduate into spirituality. So these are in quoted lines, which means it has been said by somebody. So they go about by saying it's not really the religion, it's these religious dogmas. Dogmas are basically conventional principles that people have. So it is these religious dogmas that actually lead to the conflict. In fact, religion should always, elevate to a greater level, which is the spirituality. These two epigrammatic statements. Now, epigram is a figure of speech which means a saying, a pithy saying, a short saying, a concise adage. So that is what it is. Now, these two epigrammatic statements of President Abdul Kalam are worth pondering over. Ponder means to think. So, one can really think around these. It has been said that more blood has been shed over the cause of religion than any other cause. Religion को लेके जितना खून बहा है और किसी में नहीं है. This is confirmed by what is happening today, and we can pretty much confirm this also. It is a paradox that religion is at once a cohesive and a decisive force, so divisive force. So it's something which is going to cohese you, that is going to, probably motivate you, plus it is also going to be something which is going to be divisive. If religion, with its potential for good, has turned into a destructive force, it is but the perversion of religion. That's not what religion is. And if that is what has happened, we're doing the reverse of what religion preaches us. Religion, in its deepest sense, has laid the foundation of moral order. In fact, religion will always promote morality. It has extended the bounds of human sympathy and underscored the values of humanity, charity in the sense of love and tolerance, faith in the transcendental divine order, respect for the sanctity of all forms of life, and observance for the decencies of life. So, religion has always been all good. It has always been, multidimensional and wanting to good for each and every being. All values advocated by religion are threatened by greed. But what is happening is the values of religion are being threatened by greed, violence, exploitation, competitive religion, consumerism, commercialization, and such forces. But then there are these negative forces which are channelizing religion right now. It looks as if religion has become its own enemy. Religion इतना corrupt हो गया कि अपना ही enemy बन गया है. Every sphere of human activity, from the individual and domestic to the international level, is torn with chaos and conflict. Every level is torn with chaos and conflict. The spirit of skepticism generated by science has resulted in an erosion of values. And this skepticism, that is the doubtfulness, that science has brought in. Now, because of this, what has happened is it has resulted in the erosion of values altogether. The world is broken into narrow domestic walls. We have grasped the mystery of the atom and rejected the sermon of the mount. We have understood what atom is, but we have rejected all sermons. Sermons are all of the preachings that have happened. The world has achieved brilliance without wisdom and the power without conscience. So there is no conscience, there is no soul. It is just empty. We know more about war than about peace. We know more about killing than about living, as has been said by General Omar Bradley. So that is what is the paradoxical and the sad reality of today's times. We boast about our civilization. बहुत हम लोग उसमें boast करते हैं कि वाह क्या civilization है. There is nothing particularly civilized in traveling by plane or living in air-conditioned comfort. And then the author is like, ऐसा कुछ बहुत महान काम नहीं है. I mean, there's nothing great that you're doing living in AC rooms. Speed, quantity, sophisticated lifestyle, and bank balance do not make for civilization. It's not these things that make up a civilization. Human beings have been described as the elder brothers of the animals and the younger brothers of God. So we are younger to God, we are elder to animals. Civilization fulfills itself when they're elevated from animality to spirituality, and religion actually becomes important when, from this animal behavior, from this cannibalism, you've gone to spirituality. Religion and spirituality have their role in this transforming and regenerative process, and it's a very important role that they have. Their role should be redefined and reformulated in the modern context. Their role needs to be redefined. Religion are many, but religion is one. There are lots of religions, but the religion is always one. There is no relative superiority of one religion over the another. They all preach the same thing. So you can't be like, मेरा religion आपके religion से ज़्यादा अच्छा है. One should go beyond denominational religion to understand religion. So there is no denomination to it. What the world needs is a fellowship of faith on a common march towards a common goal. We need a common march and a common goal. Man must evolve for all human conflicts, a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. We have to reject all of these negative things that we have. The foundation of such a method is love and be able to promote love. These words by Martin Luther King sums up the essence of religion. And as quoted by Martin Luther King, this is exactly what religion is supposed to be all about. And with that, let's get to the questions. So religion is all about the good things. It is not about the negative things and the other things which are channelized religion in today's times. So that is what the passage is about, highly critical to what we understand of religion in today's times. And let's get on to the questions. So I'm going to step aside. I need you to punch in your answers and we will then begin. Okay, let's see the first one. Which of the following opinion regarding religion and spirituality has been quoted by the author? क्या बोला है author ने? Religion and spirituality are synonymous. Synonymous नहीं है. Religion should lead to spirituality. तो एक ऊपर है. Elevation वाली बात थी. Synonyms नहीं है. There should not be equated. ऐसा कभी नहीं बोला. Religion is practiced by observing. No, that's not what it is. Religion should lead a person to spirituality. Yes, एक elevation वाला. So it's the path to spirituality. That is what has been talked about. So yes, the correct answer is going to be option D. We did have D. Very good job there. Let's see question number 7 now. Please begin. Let's get to this. What can be understood from the author's statement that one should go beyond denominational religion to understand religion? So that means there's no particular strata to religion. There's no particular, hierarchy. So there's no denomination to it as how it is. Well, yes, it is because you've sort of, nominated yourself that this is what it is. You've set a hierarchy for yourself. Makes sense. This can definitely be an answer. Let's reserve it. If one does not understand his own, okay, it's not about one not understanding. Guys, am I audible to each of you now? So sorry, there was a network disconnect. It's just been pouring cats and dogs. So we're nothing but a victim of bad weather. Pop, everything okay? Thank you so much for bearing with this minor glitch of the internet. And let us begin then. All right. Okay. Let's continue on to question number 8. According to the author, what is the paradox about religion? So the word paradox means a contradiction. So we have to be finding out which of the following is going to be a paradox around it. I'll give you 1 minute to be able to answer. Punch in your answers in the chat box. It'll just get better. I know, Shriram, just hang in there for about 10 seconds. I think it'll all stream out. We're pacing up the latency, which is why. So let's see which of the following is now going to be the paradox. Now it is sometimes uniting and at other times dividing. Okay. Now, well, that could now paradox is going to be anything which is going to be a contradiction. So when I say it is sometimes uniting and the other times dividing, now what is wrong over here is the way the words have been talked about. Now, religion is being used both as a cohesive force and as a divisive force. That's how the passage went about. But to say it is sometimes being used, that's not what it is. But if you want, you can always keep this, but because yes, it does have a pinch of paradox in it. Let's see the other ones. It starts as a unite. Okay, it doesn't start as one and end as one. So these are going to be red flags for us. This can't be an answer. It unites and divides people at different points of time in different ways. No, it's not about the different point of times also. So this can't be. It happens to be both uniting and dividing at the same time. Well, yes, between A and D, if you see, it is these adverbs that are making the difference. Sometimes and other times वाला idea नहीं है at the same time, क्योंकि वही religion कुछ लोगों के लिए divisive factor बन रहा है और वही religion कुछ लोगों के लिए cohesive, that is, getting together वाला idea बन रहा है. So the correct answer over here is going to be option D. Very good job there. You've gotten the answer right. Let's try for question number 9. Let's go. Question number 9, please. Let's see. The author calls religion its own enemy. So religion has become its own enemy. Why? Because it has led people to destroy themselves. Okay, throughout the passage, उसने अपने आप को destroy नहीं किया, लोग destroy कर रहे हैं एक दूसरे को, right? So oneself वाली बात नहीं आई है. So this can't be an answer for me clearly. Let's try the next one. Because it has divided people by greed, violence, exploitation, competition, religion, consumerism, commercialization, and such forces. Yes, that is pretty much the answer. Because religion is invested with negative elements. But हमारे पास एक answer है जो actually में दे रहा है. It is laying out all of the negativities that are there. So we have a better answer. Because people who practice religion have only become sinners. Now explicit is not what it is going to be. So the correct answer becomes option B over here. Let's try the last one for this. What is the meaning of the epigrammatic used? Now, we did speak about it, and while talking about the passage, I told you what an epigram is. So be very wise when you pick out the answer for this one. Okay. Now, long story can't be because epigrams, remember back when I said that they're short, crisp, precise adages. Like, these very clever sayings that are there. So, of course, ये नहीं हो सकता. Novella नहीं हो सकता. Novella is a long short story or a short novel. So, novellas भी नहीं हो सकता. A short saying that expresses an idea in a clever way, absolutely. Enigma means something which has a lot of mystery to itself. Something which is very mysterious. Which is why, if you remember, Benedict Cumberbatch की एक मूवी आई थी जिसमें वो लोग जो बड़ा वाला जर्मन वर्ल्ड वॉर 3 के टाइम पे कर रहे थे, उनकी मशीन का नाम एनिग्मा था बिकॉज वो मॉर्स कोड को डिकोड करता था. So enigma, and we also use enigma when, on and off, because it has that element of mystery to itself. So this can't be an answer either, which means the correct answer is going to be option C. And with that, let us get on to the next passage, everybody. The last passage for today, before we move on to the other single line based questions. Please start, everyone. Let's go. We'll follow the same drill. I will walk you through the idea of the passage in just about 2-3 minutes of your reading time, and then we'll do the question simultaneously. I think that keeps us more engaged. Let's go. Ready whenever you guys are, just write a done or a next, and I will swap the slide. Can we start? Let's get to knowing what the passage is about before we move on. Now, for those who haven't been following the ongoing drama in the politics of the United Kingdom, here's the basic storyline. So, we're giving you the story, the plot of it. After an initially botched response, where it ignored, so botched is basically कोई चीज जब बहुत ही ज्यादा fabricate कर दी जाती, manipulate कर दी जाती है. So, where it ignored the seriousness of the COVID-19 virus, Boris Johnson's government declared strict lockdown protocols for the whole country. As 20 and 21 unfolded, Britain witnessed and suffered under further incompetencies and the lack of concern from Johnson and his team. Scandals to do with the government also began to emerge. So not only was it a victim of, all the inadequacies of the COVID-19, it was also something that that showed a lot of incompetencies of the government. These substantial accusations of flagrant disregard to rules he had himself made for the rest of the country have now got Johnson teetering on the edge of the precipice. And all of these have, pushed him to the edge. He's like, now things are just looking very awful for him. Like many current counterparts in other countries, Johnson is famous for never knowingly speaking the truth. So infamous banda hai, sach bolta nahi hai kabhi bhi. Like other prime ministers and presidents, we know Johnson has his own typical method of avoiding answering hard questions, the favorite trick of what white may call the shaft release method, named after the bunches of tiny aluminium or zinc strip warplanes released as decoy to electronically confuse missiles coming at them. So they call it what we call the shaft release, which is to evade. So they beat around the bush. इधर उधर के जो इतने ज्यादा बेट क्वेश्चंस है ना उसको आंसर कर देते, मुद्दे पे कभी कोई सही जवाब नहीं देता है. Before he became a leader of the Labour Party, Starmer has been the director of public prosecutions and the head of the Crown Prosecution Service, the government department that prosecutes criminals in court. Now, before he became a leader, he was the head of the Crown Prosecution. Krishnan Gurumurthy, one of Britain's senior-most television anchors, confronts Nadine Dorries, Secretary of the Culture and one of the few remaining Johnson loyalists in the cabinet, and asks her bluntly, how can you have a prime minister just repeating fake news like that? So like, how can you really have somebody जो fake news को बार बार authenticate भी नहीं करता है कि वो सही है कि गलत है, right? Dory's response is to shuffle sideways, saying first that she knows nothing about Starmer's background. Second, reaching for whataboutery that Starmer himself also said things that were inappropriate. And third, that she only had Guru Murthy's word about Starmer's record. So Doris ने भी क्या किया, उसने बड़ा politically इस पूरी situation को handle कर लिया. None of this washes with the TV journalist, but the TV journalist was not convinced with any of these. He is just repeating a meme, says Guru Murthy, before adding, he said things that were untrue. He misled the house today. And in fact, he just goes about by accusing by saying that, यार ये क्या बंदा है? वो memes को repeat कर रहा है. He is disgracing the house altogether. It's clear that Johnson's government is in complete shambles, generously self-garnished with disgrace and vicious mendacity. Mendacity means to lie, mendacious. So now over here they just go about by saying that it's no doubt कि ये पूरा political system ही इन लोगों का corrupt है. It is clear that the British Prime Minister is incompetent, completely indifferent to the fate of the poorest people under his care as he bends over backwards to serve his rich friends, and he is completely narcissistic and willing to blow apart any principle or truth that obstructs his continuation of power. This much is closely comparable to what we are facing in India today. And then he makes an analogy by saying India में कुछ खास नहीं हो रहा है, India में भी ऐसे कुछ चल रहा है. Whether they stem from geographical or demographic scales, from history to culture, what should concern us are the differences in what can and can't happen from this point on. For instance, it's unlikely that the Conservative Party or the Tory press will allow any kind of personality cult to encrust around Johnson. So we know for a fact that उनको कुछ होने नहीं वाला है चाहे जो हो जाए. As the suffering audience of our own ongoing grotesque fancy dress party, we will have to arrive at our own routes to ending the mehfil of the few. So we will have to take this in our hands and we will have to make sure कि इनकी जो इतनी so-called sorted mehfil है, this is something that is taken care of. So again, the passage is highly reprimanding not only the British government but also trying to bring back to India and saying that we are no better than those guys. We are also suffering the same plight. Okay, let's get to the questions. Get your answers in the chat box and we will discuss. 11, please start. it says in many current counterparts of other countries, Johnson is famous for what? So Johnson obviously किसके लिए? झूठ बोलने के लिए, own up करने के लिए नहीं है. So that's the kind of answer we want. Never knowingly speaking the truth, well yes. Never knowingly speaking the lie, इतना सचवादी है नहीं वो. Knowingly speaking the truth, of course not. Never knowingly speaking the truth, no. Never knowingly, unknowingly speaking the truth is not what it is. Never knowingly speaking the truth. So the correct answer over here is going to be option A. Very well, you did have the right answer. Let's see question number 12 here. Huh. Okay, so Shriram is very interested in knowing where Aditya is from. So Aditya has given us this mysterious information that he's from Patna. Okay, all right, let's get to the next. Which of the following is true regarding the second paragraph? Just the second paragraph, guys. Johnson's favorite trick is to chaff release. Of course, that is correct. Johnson avoids answering hard questions. Yes, chaff release is named after bunches of course, all of it. So the answer will have to be D, which is the patent style of Boris. Let's do the next one. Question number 13. You have to give me a fair title for it. Okay, let's see. Which of the following, now if it's a title question or a main idea question, we've discussed this so many times, it has to have the mention of the protagonist. The protagonist over here is Boris, right? So we want to have it. Political gambling is very loose and we are not gambling. It's like a political nosedive. Boris Johnson in full retreat. Yes, the fact that agar if he's not going to mend his ways, iski government to khatam hai. Yes, makes for an answer. Fair play banda kar leta to dikkat hi kya hoti? Government in complete shambles, but then this doesn't say which government and which minister. So we have a better answer. So yes, the correct answer is going to be option B over here. Very good job. Question number 14, please start. Which of the following correctly interprets the idiomatic expression bending over backwards? Bending over backwards is थोड़ा literal ऐसे समझो अगर आप इतना कर रहे हो तो कितनी मेहनत कर रहे हो. That's the idea. So to try very hard to do everything for someone at the cost of someone's risk, no. Bending over backward is not a very comfortable stance. So दिक्कत आप ही को आ रही है फिर भी आप कर रहे हो. To try extremely hard to help or please someone even if they cause you trouble, yes. To try hard enough to stick to the principles, no, it's not about the principles. To try extremely hard to please everyone even at the cost of one's harm. Now again over here between the two, you will have to see which of the following is contextually fitting, that is to the context. So ये बोलता है to please someone even if you're not pleasing everyone, please understand you're pleasing someone with respect to the passage. So the correct answer will be B and not D. I hope everybody understands the difference between the two. And let's get to the last question of the reading comprehension, post which we will move on to the other types of questions that we have. It says, and willing to blow apart any principle or truth. Now with grammar, we've always understood it's not about what you feel, it's about the usage. Now the moment you say any principle or truth, principle मेरा noun है, noun के पहले कोई भी word आता है और उसकी quality बता देता है क्योंकि any principle मतलब वो indefinite quality हो गई ना, तो noun के पहले जो भी word आएगा जो noun की quality बताएगा वो हमेशा क्या बनाए? adjective. So by default यहाँ पे ये क्या बन जाएगा मेरा adjective. Adverb हो नहीं सकता because adverb को any के भी पहले होना था. Because adverb will tell me the quality of an adjective. Pronoun or conjunctions, of course, ho nahi sakta. Conjunctions are joining words. Pronouns are words that are used in replacement of nouns. That is not going to be an answer, which means the correct answer is going to be option A. So not D over here, Aditya. I hope you understand why we have A as the answer. And with that, let's begin with a couple of grammatical rectifications. Question number 16. Please go. Right, then let us go. Noting that the price, so incorrect part है, the underlying part हमें उसको ठीक करना है. Noting that the price of oil and other fuel components, a major factor in the cost structure of an airline, now have risen and will continue to rise. The company management was pessimistic about their outlook of the upcoming. Okay, now let's see. Now, when I say noting that the price of the oil and other components, a major factor in the cost of the airline, have risen, okay, and will continue to rise. The company management was pessimistic about their. Now, this is nothing but a reiteration of this. Now, this is not going to be correct because throughout the passage, I also have to maintain the parallelism that the statement has. Let's try the next one. Now, have risen and will continue to rise. The company management was pessimistic about the outlook. The outlook नहीं हो सकता यहाँ पे तो there ही होना चाहिए तो भाई ये तो नहीं है. Right, will continue to rise. The company management was pessimistic about the outlook. Now, this can be one of the ways because आपने यहाँ पे will कर दिया, you've changed the structure of the statement altogether. Well, has risen हो नहीं सकता because this is a subject verb agreement that is going to be have, because over here when I say noting that the price of the oil and other fuel components, a major factor in the cost structure of all of this. So of course this will have to take a have risen and that's not going to be has. So of the okay, no Aditya, D cannot be an answer because there is a subject verb agreement over here, disagreement over here. So any other answers are between A and C? Those are the only two options that we have. Which of the following do you think is it going to be? Now, when I say they have risen and will continue to rise, the company management was pessimistic about their outlook for the upcoming quarter. Now, again, the answer will just be the first one, which is A again, because this part takes into it just reduce. I mean, it changes the idea. Will continue to rise. It says it has risen and will continue. So that's the kind of transition that we want. It's missing in C, which is why we will leave it to A. Let's see the next one. Question number 17. Please start. Okay, now this is a trick one. When I go start by saying a high interest rate is only one of the factors, right? It is only one of the factors. Now, there are two things that you have to know. One of the many, and then there is something which says only one of the many. When you say one of the many, always remember the Verb later will always be plural. So if I say Ram is one of the many boys who were interested in cricket, तो अभी ये वर क्यों हुआ? क्योंकि राम उन बॉयज में से है, तो बहुत सारे बॉयज है ना, उसमें से राम भी है. So because हमारा जो pool है, जो subject pool है, which is plural in nature, which is why he were. But if I say Ram was the only one of the many, which means now there is nobody else but Ram, so it will only be singular in nature. So here when I say a higher interest rate is only one of the factors, albeit an important one, is only one of the factors, which means will it be singular or will it be plural? Tell me please. In the chat box very quickly. What do you think this is going to be? If I say it is only one of the many, what is it going to be? A singular idea or a plural idea? I will wait to hear from you before we move on to the answer. Because depending on what you decide for it, whether it's going to be singular or plural, will two options be eliminated? Because keeps with an S will be singular and the one without it, yes, it is going to be singular, which means these can't be an answer. Right? Now let's see. Keeps the housing market from spiraling out of control like it did or as it did. Whenever there is a comparative idea that is being done, you always use as. Like is always used when you show a preference. So the correct answer over here becomes option C. I hope everybody understood the grammatical nuance over here. And with that, let's get to the next one. Question number 18, please start. Let's go. Okay, now if you are being very careful, you will know what needs to be done here. Now, when I say the Daughters of the American Revolution, a voluntary service organization. So we have studied subject verb agreement में subject complement एक चीज होती है. अगर सिर्फ यहाँ तक होता ना मेरा statement, तो ये the Daughters of the American Revolution में daughters plural है तो obviously plural होता. But if you read further, it says a voluntary service organization. मतलब ये एक organization का नाम है. तो नाम तो हमेशा सिंगुलर होता है और अगर नाम सिंगुलर है तो ऑब्वियसली मेरा मेरा सब्जेक्ट सिंगुलर बन गया व्हिच मींस मेरा वर्ब भी सिंगुलर होगा व्हिच आई नो फॉर अ फैक्ट दैट एडमिट तो अब हो ही नहीं सकता इट विल हैव टू बी एडमिट्स नाउ सी व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग आई हैव गिवन यू वन बिट ऑफ हिंट नाउ टेल मी वेदर इट इज गोइंग टू बी ए और सी mention your answer guys. So when I say the voluntary service organization admits as members only women who can prove lineal descent, makes sense. Admits as members women who, no, this is an only women sort of an organization because it is a voluntary organization which is called the Daughters. तो उसमें कोई मेल तो आ ही नहीं सकता तो only डालना बहुत जरूरी है which means the correct answer is going to be option A. Very good job there. Let's try the next one now. Okay, slightly longer, so please take your time and then see which of the following is going to be the correct answer. सबसे पहले एक दो छोटी छोटी गलतियां निकाल लो. Subject verb disagreement देख लो या maybe you know how you want the tense to be so that you're able to eliminate and then match. Match जैसे bread made from got infected and then bread products है so you'll have to know what exactly does the passage speak about. So little things, you know, these little indicators will always help you know what the answer is. Let's try the next one. Okay, we have B coming in. Now let's see. Consumption of bread products made from. Now let's see. Consumption of products made. No. Now B can't be an answer at all because if you leave the bread, you don't tell what exactly are we talking about. So this is not happening, right? Now let's see. Consumption of bread products made from ergot infected grains often triggers होना चाहिए, trigger नहीं हो सकता तो A भी गया अपना. अब C पे आते हैं. Bread products made from ergot infected grains often triggers severely debilitating symptoms such as muscle contraction, seizure, and gangrene, but at a proper dose also causes a significant reduction in maternal bleeding after childbirth. Makes sense? Now, again, bread is not, it's the bread products. But bread products made from ergot infected grain often trigger again. This is not going to be an answer. So the correct answer becomes option C. So see, one or the other alphabet here and there can just be enough for you to be able to know what the correct answer is going to be. Let's get to the next one, guys. Question number 20. Please start. देखो हमें यहाँ पे इतना तो पता ही है ना, सेंट्रल कालाहारी गेम रिजर्व द गवर्नमेंट है, तो गवर्नमेंट है तो सिंगुलर है, तो जस्टिफाई तो हो ही नहीं सकता, इट हैव टू बी जस्टिफाइज, एक गया, राइट? अब जैसे ही हमने पढ़ा है सब्जेक्ट प्रोनाउन अग्रीमेंट में रूल क्या है, अगर सब्जेक्ट सिंगुलर है तो प्रोनाउन भी तो सिंगुलर ही होना है, isn't it? So if that is what it is, justifies their action तो हो ही नहीं सकता, गवर्नमेंट इज सिंगुलर, which means ये भी गया, तो बचा क्या आपके पास? Justifies its actions by stating that it is too costly to provide such basic services as medical, and as लगेगा क्योंकि comparative idea में है. So just make sure that the first thing that you do is between the options you figure out, so that it's a lot more easier for you to know what the correct answer of this is going to be. Next, starting from question number 21, we need to be spotting the error in the statements. Please go. Okay, over here, having worked tirelessly on the project, the team is realizing that they might not meet the deadline. Now we know that that is not what it is. We can't have a continuous tense. It will have to be the team has realized. So you want a present perfect tense over here. So the correct answer or the erroneous part basically becomes part B. Very good there. And let's try the next one. Now this one's very easy. The next one. Now spot the error from the options given in the below statement. Here, I mean, the opening line will tell us what it is. If she was, if is a statement, it's a conditional statement. If हमेशा hypothetically होता है, तो if अगर लगता है तो was कभी नहीं लग सकता. If हमेशा were के साथ ही लगेगा. So the error clearly becomes in part A. You need not read further because you know इसके अलावा और कोई गलती हो ही नहीं सकती है. Very good job there. अगला देखते हैं. Which part do you think has the error? It says by next year. So this is going to be something जो अगले साल होगा, future में चाहिए. Our company will be diversifying into new markets and had expanded. अभी had expanded तो past perfect हो गया. ये कैसे हो सकता है? Will have expanded होना चाहिए ना, because future का model तो चाहिए ना, will and shall. So obviously B becomes the wrong statement or the wrong part because it should have been will have expanded. The next one. The next one, let's see over here. No sooner had he arrived than, अभी देखो no sooner than तो है, ठीक है, but no sooner had he arrived than he realizes, भाई वो पूरा correlative conjunction है तो parallelism maintain करने के लिए दोनों ही को तो past में होना है. So had he arrived than he realized is what it should be. So the erroneous part becomes part B over here. Very well done. Let's try the next now. Again, guys, be very careful. Here it says by the end of the quarter, which means it will happen. That's enough hint that I've given. Now tell me the answer, please. So the CEO announced that by the end of the quarter, the company is achieving a record profit. The company will have will have achieved. So of course, the erroneous part becomes because this will have to be will have achieved is what the correct answer is going to be. Very good. The answer is going to be C. Okay, now we have one word substitutions. We have to find the most appropriate of the lot. Please begin. 26. Which one do we have as the answer over here? Now the state of art dash and the factory requires meticulous dash, which means both of them will have to be nouns. If both of them have to be nouns, let's see. Machinery maintenance makes sense. Equipment servicing ho nahi sakta. Evidences makes no sense. Tools and informations, no, meticulous informations is not going to make sense. So of course the answer will have to be A. So the state of art machinery in the factory requires meticulous maintenance. Yes, the answer is going to be option A. Okay, next. Select the most appropriate word or idiom. The art gallery displayed a dash of exquisite paintings, each created by different artists. Now, dozens is nothing. It is always supposed to be dozen, but dozen in itself is collective, right? So over here it is going to be A, which is just 7 dozen. गलत है जो हम बोलते हैं 7 dozens चाहिए. That's not correct ever. Next. Okay, now he measured the room and found it to be exactly dash wide and dash long. So it is always 10 feet and 15 feet. It's not foot, it's not dozens, it's not feet. All of these are wrong. So once again, the answer is going to be A. Okay. Now, the company invested dash in research and development to create an innovative. Which one over here? Now, over here, let's see. The company invested dash in research and development. It is always $1 million. $2 million, no $2 million. 2 millions of dollars, that's again not going to be, it's always $1 million. 2 million, 3 million. I mean, the quantity can change, but dollars, rupee, dollars, currencies are always in plural. That is what the rule of subject verb agreement is. 30th, let's go. The fact that dash often imprecise is not necessarily something we would now wish to aspire. Now, orchestras have often imprecise. No, that's not what it is. Orchestras were often, yes. That is what it is going to be because we want to talk about the fact. Now, the imprecise is, of course, for them. So it is going to be option C. It's always orchestras were. Let's see the next. On to the next one. Dash is not a sport. Gymnastic नहीं होता. Gymnastic. Some words naturally have an S to itself. Now, gymnastic does not make it plural. It is singular, just as statistics, mathematics, civics. So, yes, the correct answer is going to be option D. Very well done there. Let's get to the next question, number 32. Now we have some idioms and we'll have to see which of the following is going to be the best fit of the idiom. Let's try and do, I know it's almost time, guys, but we'll sit until question number 40. Okay, just 8 more. Hang in tight with me. The next. में देखते हैं. To offer solace to the anguished Bharata for revealing to him Rama's ennobling adherence to Dharma, Jabali has to don the cloak of dash, which he does not do in exemplary fashion. To give someone a cold shoulder is to ignore, to neglect someone. To be the devil's advocate is yes, किसी गलत काम को to be able to do some advocacy for it, which makes sense over here. Bitter pill is just a wrong act or something which is not sitting right with you. Best of both the worlds is everything which is good. So of course he had to be the devil's advocate, which of course he does in an exemplary fashion. Next. The pure mind of a kid visualizes so many things which will happen only when kids might fly. So pigs might fly is a hypothetical scenario wherein your imagination is let loose. अभी उस दिन बात करेंगे जब pigs will fly. So something which is not likely to happen at all, something which is completely based out of imagination. See, eye to eye is to be of the same status. Once in a blood moon is not what it is. A piece of cake means something which is very easy. So none of these are going to be the answer. The answer becomes option D, 34. It is better to get straight to the point instead of, so when you keep going all around, yes, very well, it is going to be instead of beating about the bush. To cry over spilled milk is जब जो हो गया उसके ऊपर रोने का कोई मतलब नहीं है. Blessing in disguise is, something that is unexpectedly good. Icing the cake is, to top it up. और ज़्यादा उसको ornament या अच्छे से करना. That's not what the answer is. The answer is going to be option D. Next, 35. Here again, ordinarily it would be dash for oven farrell, but this looks tricky. So tricky का opposite चाहिए क्योंकि यहाँ पे but है. So which means the answer will be A, which is a piece of cake. A piece of cake means something which is very easy. Taste his own medicine is खुद ही को भुगतना, मतलब खुद ही की हरकत से भुगतना. A golden handshake means to give a lot of money to somebody, especially on retirement or when somebody is going. A mean business means when you're very dedicated, when you're very sincerely doing something which is very important. That is what becomes a mean business. So the answer becomes option A over here. Question 36. Please start. Okay, let's see here. Now, Joy expects Alice to make dinner dash even if she's very busy. Even if she's very busy, वो तो बस बोलता है जैसे ही आता है बोलता है यार मेरे लिए खाना बनाओ. So our answer will be at the drop of the hat. At the drop of the hat means instantly, suddenly, kabhi bhi. Right? To get a raw deal basically means when you're not treated as favorably as the other people are. To hit the nail on the head is to strike the opportunity. To make a face is contempt when you don't like something. So that is not going to be the answer. The correct answer over here becomes option B. Let's get to the next. 37. Just sit put, guys, last three. Until 40 is what we're doing. Read the new advice in detail here, but dash everyone is being urged to avoid unnecessary social contact. So which means ऐसा एक बार में summarize करके बता देते हैं ये report ये बोल रहा है कि avoid करो social contact. So our answer becomes to put it in a nutshell. Put it in a nutshell means summarize it. To move heaven and earth is to put all efforts. To call spade a spade is to talk bluntly. And to open the Pandora's boxes, to open a box full of problems. That is what it is. So the correct answer becomes what we picked up. Okay, now some foreign words, starting from question number 38. Let's see what do we have over here. Now, for the foreign words, if there is a word of which you can take out an English word or meaning, it's very easy for you to know. So, affaire d'amour, it's a French word. So, of course, it will have to have some sort of an idea which is going to be around affair, right? And when we we say amour. So, you've seen a lot of movies, Mi Amor, right? Or the Amor, the song that we have. So, amour is always love. So, the idea becomes C, which is a love affair. Let's go. We can just be very quick with these because these, of course, are easy at that. The next one, bonjour. So bonjour is one of the ways of wishing someone a fine day. So that is what a bonjour basically becomes. Good Judy, good hour, lovely journey. That's not what it is. Journey has the voyage idea, right? So this is going to be, of course, the next. Let's see the next 40th. On Prince. Now, on Prince, I'll give you a while to be able to guess what the meaning of this is going to be. Obviously, it'll have to have the idea of prince, but then unfortunately, everything has it. Right? So, on Prince will be on Prince becomes in a princely manner. So when something is being conducted in a very princely manner, it becomes on Prince. The next, bon voyage. Now this is something we use in normal English as well. So bon voyage is going to be voyage is journey. So it's just not a bon is a prefix which means good. So bona fide, bon vivant, bon voyage. So all of this becomes a good journey to you. And the last one, cognito ergo sum. Let's see what do we have over here. It's a very famous Latin saying. It's also a song. It's the lyrics of a song also. So cogito ergo sum. It is I think, therefore I am. And with that, we will come to an end. There are about 10-15 vocabulary questions that still remain, which of course I would want you guys to finish up. I will have this PPT attached towards the end of the class. Now, this was our attempt to be able to know the words, to be able to do a quick vocabulary session on a Sunday. Thank you so much for bearing on a Sunday because I know how painful it can be to be studying on a holiday. But then we have the exam right about in the corner, so there isn't much that can be done. I will try and come back one more time with another session, which is going to either be in completion to this or maybe a continuation of a session like this, wherein we can also touch base with the other set of questions that we have. But please trust your instinct. Keep practicing because the more you practice, the better you get. And thank you for doing a phenomenal job here in the chat box because your answers are on point, which means you are there. You are pretty prepared. All what you have to do is, like I said, believe in yourself, right? So once you believe in yourself, you have the faith, you've put in the hard work, there is no stopping. You become an unstoppable, an unfathomable force. Thank you so much, everybody. And I'm going to see you guys once again, probably very soon before the examination. But if not, I will see what is it that we can do about it. Thank you so much. And give us a couple of hours and you will soon find the PPT uploaded alongside the live and you will be able to download it and be able to practice it. Have a great time. And no, this is not enough, of course, Aditya. I need you to practice more, but then it's a good practice we did. Thank you so much. And bye-bye, everybody. Have a great Sunday.